Of the Clearlake City Council here at the Clearlake City Hall Council Chambers. Tonight is July 6th, 2023. It is 6 p.m. Madam Clerk, can you call the roll?
Councilmember Kramer,
Here.
Councilmember Slotin,
Here.
Vice Mayor Claffey,
Here.
Mayor Purdock,
Here.
and Councilmember Overton is absent.
Mr. Kramer, would you lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance?
I'd be honored. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you all. If I could just ask to remain standing. We just had a nice celebration of 4th of July, celebrating the country's independence. If you could just reflect on that, think of the great accomplishments that we've made, great things that we've done, not just in these United States, but as our citizenship in the world. Thank you. Thank you all very much. Mr. Floor, any changes to the agenda?
No modifications, Mr. Mayor.
Move that we adopt the agenda as presented. Second.
A motion by Councilmember Slotin and a second by Councilmember Kramer. All those in favor signify by saying aye or nay.
Motion passes with the unanimous vote of the council.
Thank you, Madam Clerk. There being no presentations tonight, we'll move on to public comment. Public comment is a time for members to address the city council on any subject or matter within the jurisdiction of the city. But please remember, due to the Brown Act and with limited exceptions, we cannot respond to or answer questions directed to us. So please present your comment or your concerns. If possible, we might be able to direct you to a member of staff, and we are containing each comment to 3 minutes per person. I have a few requests to speak at public comment. The first I'd like to invite is Ms. Kay Lopez. Ms. Lopez, the time is yours.
Thank you.
We won't start the time till
Okay.
everything's good.
Okay.
Go ahead, we'll catch up.
Okay, you know who I am.
Yes, ma'am.
I want to express my concern as to the results of your recent investigation of the Clearlake Animal Shelter, which is contracted by North Bay Animal Services. In spite of the many eyewitness accounts and pictures of abuse and neglect, you chose convenience over the welfare of these poor dogs. You have stated to reporters you don't want to lose the contract with North Bay and will no longer allow the public in areas of concern. That's your solution? During this investigation, you assured the witnesses that they could come forward and their testimony would be kept confidential. You then made public every witness's name and exactly what they said, word for word. Whoever made that decision to betray these witnesses is not fit for public office. Your investigation appears to be an attempt to tap dance around a very serious issue you don't want to deal with. And your decision to not allow public viewing of your shelter confirms that with me. This is exactly why I was hesitant of the city investigating the city. I believe an outside investigation would be a better option. We came to you hoping for a solution, and that didn't happen. Instead, you locked us out. We will not go away until we know these dogs are finally cared for as required by law. The many attempts to have a sit-down meeting with you has fallen on deaf ears with no interest. It seems you have forgotten you're there to serve, yet all we're hearing from you is your 3 minutes are up. You are forcing us to take other avenues, and you better believe we will. We're trying to work with you, and you're not willing to work with us.
Thank you. Ms. Yanich.
Good evening. Get the old glasses on. My name is Jean Yanich. I'm here tonight on a follow-up to the June 1st agenda items regarding North Bay Animal Services 5 weeks ago. There has been a lack of action. No progress has been made. Number one example, how many citations have been written in the past month? Number two, has the person that was supposed to handle the local needs of our community been trained? Is she back to work? Have the animals that were fostered to adopt, are they being spayed and neutered? My understanding is these adoptees are still waiting, sometimes up to 6 months. These adoptees should be contacted by North Bay Animal Services for spay or neuter. Recently, about 2 weeks ago, a citizen in Clearlake observed her neighbor's hoarding situation, debris and trash all over the property. She also observed a large dog tied inside of a crate with no food or water. She called the police department, code enforcement, and North Bay Animal Services. No one called back and no one came. I recommended to her that she contact Ryan Peterson at the Clearlake Police Department. Mr. Peterson said he doesn't oversee the animals. He only did a report at the request of the Clearlake City Council. Who is in control of the animals? Who is watching? I appreciate Ryan Peterson's effort in this report, but it was biased, slanted, misleading, and inaccurate. Example, of the $60,000 that they said they spent for vet care, over $20,000 of that was a past due amount. No vet would have provided care to a delinquent account. So how did Clearlake animals receive care during the long delinquency? Also, the witnesses interviewed were totally disregarded, with their observations being explained away. Possible resolutions. Number one, complete an independent forensic audit of medical expenses, spay and neuter, adoptions, euthanasia of animals, true and correct records of everything. That's first choice. Second choice, form an oversight committee or a watchdog group to meet monthly to review the operations at North Bay with the person assigned to Clearlake that was being trained. Bringing updates on adoptions and ways that we can possibly get the community to assist and solve some of these problems. Why was there no time frame for this committee, which was deemed needed by the City Council on June 1st? Why is the City Council not asking these hard questions that I am asking? Demanding transparency from North Bay. On June 10th, Charmaine had an event to raise funds to help the Clearlake animals. There was no support for this event. No police, no City of Clearlake, no North Bay. No one supported her.
Thank you.
In closing, who can I meet with after tonight's meeting to make progress? I'm here to work with the city to help solve some of these issues.
Thanks, Chief.
So is there someone I could speak to tonight after the meeting?
I'll either direct you to Mr. Flora or Mr. Peterson. I'll also in the room.
Okay, thank
Thank
you
you.
so much.
Next, I have a request from Christine St. Clair. Take your time. Thank you.
My name is Christina St. Clair. I'm a business owner in Calistoga. I don't live in Clearlake, but I was a dedicated volunteer dog walker and transporter for the last 3 years for your shelter. Between walking dogs, I multitasked picking up poop so dogs could eat in a clean kennel and helping by getting garbage cans ready for more poop. I am the only one who would get just about every dog out of the kennels every single Saturday and Sunday. I would be there minimum of 4 hours each day. No matter the weather, I would be there. I even plan my vacations around the availability of other volunteers to make sure the dogs kept their weekend routine. I had a special bond with all the dogs, and their faces would light up when they saw me. On March 22nd, I was told I wasn't allowed to walk anymore. No reason given. Coincidentally, it was around the same time as I had been emailing Chief Hobbs and Joyce Overton with my pics of inhumane conditions at the shelter. I can't help but feel like it was retaliation for my speaking up. What kind of organization would do this to a dedicated volunteer? Where is the so-called compassion for the dogs? I reached out to Mark for an explanation, and he wanted to meet me in person, which made me very uncomfortable. I emailed him back saying I wanted to talk through email, so everything is on record. Never heard back from him again. To this day, I was never given a reason of what I did wrong or a chance to come back. Additionally, a relative of a staff member stated on social media it was because I wasn't following the rules. Unprofessional of staff to do. Time and time again, dogs are the ones suffering and paying the price for North Bay / Mark's ego. When will there be an update about the changes they were supposed to make, like the 2 weeks deadline for North Bay to remove all the dogs from the warehouse? That was on May 16th. It's now July. When will there be transparency? Thank you.
Thank you. Ms. Weldon.
I don't like this public speaking stuff. I'm always moving forward. Good evening, Council. Charmaine Walden of Clearlake Animal Association. I want to talk about our overpopulation of community animals, specifically community cats or houseless cats, if you will, and spaying and neutering
Charmaine, could you
as our organization.
speak a little louder, put the microphone?
Me off. Is that better?
I'm wondering is the green light on, Charmaine?
It's on.
Okay,
Okay. Do I have to start over?
it's up to you.
No, I don't want to. Okay. As our organization supports the community with spay and neuter services, it is apparent there needs to be more for these cats. We also help these cats and kittens when we can. And I personally have a house full of fosters to my husband's dismay. Our kids moved out and many litters of kittens have come through. Our fancy incubator is running 24/7 with litter after litter of abandoned neonatal kittens. This can be avoided by implementing a strong TNR, trap, neuter, release program. I noticed on the agenda that $30,000 was given to a very worthy cause out of the general fund. Could general fund monies be allotted to starting a community cat program?
It's easy to organize, and I can show you other cities that have successfully funded them and continue to do so. As a city, not taking some responsibility and making statements like not being required to provide animal control is very discouraging. You cannot build a safe and functioning city without including animals and acknowledging and addressing suffering. We are already seeing the effects. By helping animals, you are helping people, and vice versa. Ignoring the suffering of community cats will affect tourism and businesses and homeowners, resulting in a non-desirable place to live. By starting a TNR program for cats would allow resources of nonprofits like ours to focus on spay and neuter of large dogs, which is our priority. If funding a community cat program sounds intriguing, our organization is happy to help. If this is something that has been discussed and not favored, I would like to know the reasons why. As always, thank you for your time.
Thank you, Charmaine. Is there anyone who'd like to speak at public comment who didn't get a chance to get a slip in? Very good. Anyone in Zoom, Madam Clerk, that would like to speak?
There are no hands raised on the Zoom, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you, Madam Clerk. Very well, then I'm going to close public comment. We'll move on to the consent agenda. Is there any items on the consent agenda that a member of council would like to pull? Is there any items on the consent agenda that a member of the public would like to hear? Seeing none, I'll bring it back to council for action.
Mr. Mayor, I would like to make a motion to approve the consent agenda as presented.
Second.
A motion by Councilmember Kramer, second by Vice Mayor Claffey. All those in favor of approving the consent agenda, you signify by saying aye and vote electronically.
Motion passes with unanimous vote of the council.
Thank you, Madam Clerk. Moving on to business, item G. Item G9 is a presentation and acceptance of the annual financial report and single audit report for fiscal year 2021, 2022, resolution number 2023-31. Direct that to our finance director.
Mr. Mayor, council is being asked to adopt resolution number 2023-31 to accept the fiscal year 21-22 financial statement audit and single audit. The city contracted with Van Lant and Fank and All to act as an independent auditor for fiscal year 21-22. Brett Van Lant performed a field audit at the city in February of this year and concluded the formal audit on May 31st. Per the final audited financial statements, the city's schedule of expenditure of federal awards, the CFA, showed that the city spent $7.4 million in federal grant funds in fiscal year 21-22, requiring the city to have a single audit done of the federal grant programs. Brett Van Lant also performed the single audit, which was completed on June 30th. For each audit, there's only one finding of deficiency in internal controls related specifically to the timeliness of accounting records. It should be noted that these audits were delayed for a variety of reasons, including changeover of personnel in the finance department and carryover issues from prior fiscal years. With the fiscal year 21-22 audits completed and fiscal year 22-23 ended, the finance department is working diligently to reconcile the accounting records and prepare for the fiscal year 22-23 audit in the normal audit cycle. Staff recommends adopting resolution number 2023-31 to accept the annual financial report and single audit report for fiscal year 21-22. Brett Van Lant is joining us by telephone to do a quick review of the audits, primarily of the single audit, as the city has not been required to complete a single audit in a number of years. Before Brett gets started, I'd like to acknowledge Crystal Melanson, who is here with us tonight. Crystal stepped in to provide grant support to departments in September of 2022, and then officially accepted the management analyst position in March of this year to monitor grant compliance for the city. Crystal has been working with Lori Adams of Adams Ashby Group to put together internal controls to help manage as we ramp up to take on a number of projects funded with federal grant monies. Lori Adams has also joined us tonight virtually. I'd like to express my appreciation to Crystal and to Lori for their hard work monitoring grant compliance and the resulting single audit report that showed no findings to be reported for federal awards and question costs. And also much appreciation to Van Lant and Fankenall for their diligence in performing the audits. And with that, I'll let Brett take it from here. Thank you.
Yes, thank you, Kathy. Good evening, Mr. Mayor, members of the council. My name is Brett Van Lant, partner with Van Lant and Fankenall. We conducted the audit for the fiscal year ended June 30, 2022. We've issued our reports on the financial statements and also the single audit report. This financial statements received an unmodified opinion, which is a clean opinion, meaning there were no departures from generally accepted accounting principles. In addition, as required by the uniform guidance, the city's federal expenditures exceeded $750,000 in fiscal year 22, which required a single audit, which is an audit specifically of grant compliance with federal grants. There was two major programs that were audited as part of the audit. It was CDBG due to the large Sulphur Road project that was funded by CDBG grant, and also some code enforcement funds that were also used for CDBG funds. There were no findings regarding compliance for single audit. There's a very detailed testing that goes into performing single audit for compliance with various areas that are generated by the uniform guidance, which is issued by the federal government. So not having a single audit in many years for the city, it was very, very clean from my perspective. So I'd just like to thank Kathy and Crystal and also Ms. Lori Adams for their help in finishing the audit or providing the documentation that we needed for us to finish the audit. So if you have any questions regarding the financial statement audit or the single audit, I'd be happy to go over those now.
Thank you, sir. I appreciate your report and presentation. Any members of the council have questions for staff? Thank you very much. Thank you, sir. And thank you, Chris. Moving on to item 10. Oh, I'm sorry, you're right. Is there any comment from the public on this item? Any comments from anyone on Zoom, Madam Clerk?
There are no hands raised on the Zoom, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you. Bring it back to council.
Mr. Mayor, first of all, I would like to also thank Kathy and Crystal for their hard work in preparing this. It's great that it was a clean audit. That's amazing. So saying that, I'd like to make a motion to approve resolution number 2023-31, a resolution of the City Council of the City of Clearlake accepting the annual financial report for the fiscal year 21-22.
I'll second.
A motion by Councilmember Kramer and a second by Councilmember Slotin. All those in favor signify by saying aye or nay if you're opposed.
Motion passes with unanimous vote of the council.
Thank you, Madam Clerk. Now I'd like to move on to item number 10, consideration of lease agreement for an excavator for the Department of Public Works.
Director Leyba will introduce this item.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Fuller.
Okay. Council is being asked to approve the purchase of a Caterpillar 309 excavator in the amount of $208,814.37. The city is in need of an excavator to perform various tasks The Public Works Department currently performs a wide variety of work, including ditch cleaning, excavating, and other roadside maintenance. The purchase of the excavator will allow the staff to be more efficient in the performance of these tasks and emergency repair work, as well as vegetation management for fire risk reduction. The requested excavator purchase is based upon a Sourcewell cooperative agreement, which are competitively bid on a nationwide basis. This would be a direct purchase from Peterson Cat. The cost for the excavator and necessary attachments is $208,814.37. Council has previously approved an allocation for this equipment, which includes a thumb and coupler that is already installed in stock, the mulcher, flail mower, the front guard, the buckets, and ditch cleaning bucket as well, which are added extras as a part of this purchase.
So that included a mower. Is that like a masticator?
It's not quite a masticator. It's a little bit more of a condensed version that is not as invasive. So
Okay.
you won't have to,
Heavy duty flail mower.
yes. The recommended, this will be funded out of Measure V and the gas tax. And the recommended action is to move to approve the purchase with Peterson Cat in the amount of $208,814.37.
Thank you very much. Any initial questions by council? Mr. Slotin?
The question is, do we have operators that are trained on this piece of equipment yet? Or will that include some?
But it will include it.
Okay.
Any other questions for staff? Seeing none, I'll open it up to the public for comment. Anyone wishing to comment on this item, please step forward. Seeing none, any comments on Zoom?
There are no hands raised on the Zoom, Mr. Mayor.
Bring it back to council for deliberation.
Mr. Mayor, I'd like to make a motion to approve the lease agreement for the excavator for the Department of Public Works. Approve this lease with Peterson Cat in the amount of $208,814.37 and authorize our city manager to sign it.
Second.
I have a motion by Councilmember Kramer and a second by Vice Mayor Claffey. All those in favor signify by saying aye or nay if opposed. Aye.
Motion passes with unanimous vote of the council.
Thank you, Madam Clerk. Next item, item number 11, is consideration of updates to the memorandum of understanding. And I went too far. Scrolling down. For the management classification and benefit plan and city salary schedule. Mr. Flora.
I'm actually going to turn it over to Director Wells.
Well, thank you, Director Wells. Floor is yours.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Council is being asked to consider changes to the management classification and benefits plan. In 2018, council adopted an update to the management employees classification and benefit plan. According to section 6-2.1 salary adjustments, management employees shall receive a salary adjustment each July 1st. The salary adjustment shall take into consideration the March to March U.S. All Urban Cities Consumer Price Index equity adjustments based on labor market and the financial condition of the city. The Consumer Price Index March to March increases, which were adopted by the council in previous years, include in 2019, a 1.9% increase, in 2020, a 1.5% increase, in 2021, a 2.6% increase. Over this time period, management increases fell behind the salary increases provided to other bargaining units. In 2022, the CPI showed an 8.5% increase, with council adopting a 6% increase that brought management to a level increase matching the city's other bargaining units. In 2023, the CPI showed a 5% increase, which management is eligible to receive as a salary adjustment. Council may consider it a stretch to provide a 5% increase to management when all other bargaining units were provided a 3% salary increase effective July 1st. Staff recommends council approve a 3% increase for management employees consistent with other bargaining agreements for this year.
Thank you. Any questions of staff? Seeing none, I'll open it up for public comment on this item. Anyone wishing to speak, please form an orderly line and come up to the microphone. Seeing none, anyone on Zoom?
There are no hands raised on the Zoom, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you, ma'am. Bring it back to council for action.
Motion and vote, or it's a little unclear. Provide direction to staff.
Yes. That would either approve or not approve, I would imagine.
I guess we can vote on the suggestions from the finance director to consider the 3% increase consistent with the other agreements for this year. Is that?
Motion?
Yeah, I'll make that a motion that way. Does that sound right?
Yeah.
Okay.
So I have a motion to approve the 3% COLA for a management benefits plan. And I have a second by Councilmember Kramer, motion by Councilmember Slotin, and a second by Councilmember Kramer. All those in favor signify by saying aye or nay if you decline.
Motion passes with unanimous vote of the council.
Very good. Moving on to item H, city manager and council member reports. Mr. Flora.
Okay, just a few items, Mr. Mayor, council members. Officer Nathan Williams started earlier this week in his new role as kind of a liaison focusing on public properties, parks, as well as our central shopping centers. And so we're excited for him to develop some additional relationships and spend his focus on those areas. The South Center Drive Dam Road Extension sidewalk project is coming along quite nicely. They will be paving next Tuesday, so there's going to be some additional disruption around there, but that project's coming along quite well. The what we call the Roadie property, the 30 acres around sort of Walmart, Tractor Supply, that area, you're familiar with the city's involvement in that. There has been some work this year out there. CAL FIRE's been out there. The North Shore Fires Reduction Crew has been out there. There's one area that we haven't really been able to access until this year. This is kind of some rough terrain. Public Works has helped code enforcement out there provide access, and they've been doing some trash cleanup. And then CAL FIRE is planning on doing some additional work and some controlled burns on that site. I was told by code enforcement today that they may start doing some controlled burning as soon as tomorrow. So exciting to, go ahead and continue to see progress on that property. We've had a lot less fire starts and issues in that whole area as a result of the work that's been done in the last few years. And then the final thing I wanted to talk about is now that the council approved the contract for the City Hall renovation project. The contractor is prepared to start on the 17th of July, so quite quickly. And so most of City Hall, our plan at this point is we will be closed next Thursday to move over to Woodland College. And so there'll be a series of communications that will be coming out related to that, making sure the public can find us. Public Works staff will be located at the Public Works Corporation yard in our office trailer. So Director Leba, our project manager, and Public Works superintendent will all be over there during this transition. And city council meetings will not be impacted here. The police department will still remain open. There is going to be a little bit of work in the lobbies and whatnot that will provide some temporary disruptions, but they will remain open. Yeah, so I think with that, that's all I have to report.
Thank you. Councilmember Slotin.
Want to go back to, I think it was the 19th, 16th, we did a tour of Calpine, which was pretty amazing. So thanks for organizing that. It's amazing how, that technology is able to be used in this county, and one of the few counties that can do this. Also, I attended the Lake County Recreation meeting. Somewhat, I got kind of delayed to get there, but I'm starting to feel a little bit nervous about that committee and the lack of interest from the county specifically. I mean, there's stuff that they're bringing up, and it shows no big ideas, just little ideas, and I think we can do better than that. And that's it. Obviously, the 4th of July celebration, or 1st of July celebration, was a huge success. So whoever put that all together, kudos. Thanks.
Thank you. Councilmember Kramer.
Yes, I just following on the July 1st celebration. I thought I went over really well, despite the heat.
Move the microphone down.
I'm sorry. Went over well despite the heat during the day. The fireworks were spectacular. I actually watched them from my backyard, which was far less crowded than Austin Park was, and they were great. Thanks to Lions Club for all of their efforts, as well as certainly our city staff for everything they did to make it a safe and safe event. Meetings I attended our RRA meeting last week. Nothing really substantial to report out of that, with the exception that they made the decision that they would like to have an alternate for each city. The fire departments, of course, have 5 different departments, so they rotate around. They're covered. The tribal is covered in a similar way. And I think the special district, water districts are also, they have 1 membership and they trade around, but the cities don't have that. So they're asking that we have an alternate, which I think, Mr. Mayor, you would appoint. And I've asked Councilmember Slotin if he'd be interested in that. And I think he said you were. So I'm gonna, hopefully you were. It attempted to have a CalCog meeting last Friday, a Zoom meeting, and unfortunately, the technology at CalCog is apparently not the best. It was about 30 minutes trying to get on it, or I finally did get on it. The only actionable item it already handled. So really kind of a wasted 30 minutes. The chamber has our monthly dinner this coming Tuesday, July 11th at Twin Pine. And we're having as our guest speaker, actually our host, Moke Simon, supervisor, District 1, and also tribal chair for the Middletown Rancheria of Pomo Indians, will be talking to us about the history of their tribe in Lake County. I think it should be a very interesting talk. I would hope that it can be signed up for at the chamber website, clearlakechamber.org. And I would hope that some of our folks in here would consider signing up and going to that dinner. Again, it's Tuesday, July 11th. Dinner is a buffet and starts at 6 o'clock. Let me see, I had one more item, but I've got to go back and try to find on here. Well, I guess it was our RA meeting that I was thinking of. So that's all I have, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you, Mr. Kramer. Vice Mayor.
I also attended the Lake Community Recreation meeting last week. I think Councilmember Slutin and I shared the same sentiments. The county was asked to come back this month with their proposed plan or what they would like to see out of this group. I still think it's a great group, and I really hope that we can make strides to improve recreation here in Lake County. So maybe I'm a little bit more bullish on it than Councilmember Slutin at the moment, but I still think there's potential there. And again, just wanted to echo everyone's comments about the Independence Day festivities. Wonderful job all around. Thank you again. It's one of the best events in this city year after year, and I know folks really love it. So thank you all.
Yes, Mr. Kramer.
Normal do-over. I did want to mention that the first weekend in August, Friday, Saturday, and Sunday, I think 4th, 5th, and 6th, is the Shakespeare at the Lake play, which will be out on our own Austin's park. I think it begins at 7 o'clock each evening. There'll be 3 vendors, one of food, one ice cream, and one a beverages vendor. Again, 7 o'clock. Going to be a great event. I hope to see a lot of you folks out there. So that's all.
Thank you. Mr. Jones, point of order. I believe that's a mayoral appointment. Do we need to have that agendized for that appointment? Or can I do this tonight?
If it's a mayoral appointment, you could do it. You don't need to do it right here. You could do it after the fact and just, or maybe during your report, indicate who that is.
Thank you. As part of my report, I'd like to identify that past Mayor Slotin, Councilmember Slotin, has been identified as my choice to fill that spot. So if the record could reflect that appointment, I would appreciate that. I really have nothing to report other than I did receive notice that our Lake Transit and Lake Area Planning Council meeting for this month has been canceled. So we won't be meeting that there. I would also like to echo my peers' accolades for the Lions Club. Once again, they pulled off another great Independence Day celebration. Special kudos. I know the police department was there in force. It was an all hands on deck with code enforcement. Very well appreciated. We had a nice, safe event. Everybody was enjoying themselves. It was a little warm, but I don't believe we had any medical issues. Always happy to see that. Saw a lot of littles playing in the splash pad, which was wonderful to see, and got a lot of kudos for the city's forward thinking in going above Mr. Flora and doing a little bit better than what folks expect. So again, thanks to staff, thanks to our police department for a great, another great celebration. Fireworks were not a disappointment, just what we expect and have come to known. So thank you to all of those that donated either personally or through your business to make that happen. Again, by far, I think one of the better displays around the lake. So all in all, a great event. And that concludes my report.
Mr. Flora, just one question. How did the splash pad hold up?
It held up just fine. I don't think there's any issues. Yeah.
I think the signage worked. I saw no one shaking or bashing or causing damage to any of the equipment there at the
We
splash
still
pad.
have one of the units hasn't been operating correctly, which is kind of what caused some of the issues. I noticed the guys out there working on it today, so I'm not sure if they had it all resolved, but
And by the way, I continue to get, and I think we all do continue to get accolades about the way Austin's Park looks. Again, it's the best. The general comment I get is it's the best I've ever seen. So I think that's kudos to staff, your public works staff.
Yeah, definitely the best I've ever seen it. It's something to be very proud of. And I'm looking forward to seeing what we can put together at Burns Valley for that project. Get our kids a nice ball field to play on. With that, Any future agenda items? Anyone have anything to request?
I had one, this board director to Ryan, if we can get an update on the opioid lawsuits. Sometime down the line.
Yeah, happy to do that. It doesn't have to be, we could do it in closed session, we could do it in open session, but work or city manager to determine the best time to do that.
Well, as I recall, I thought that was, we had a final report out on the judgment for that in open session. And I thought there was also direction given as to where those funds might be best spent. So
Yeah,
I
there's
think that
some
would be good.
limitations on where the funds could be spent. It has to relate to combating that, you
Right.
know, but there's some expansion there when it comes to maybe code enforcement and blight and those kinds of resources.
Anything toward education?
I think so. I would imagine
If you could,
so.
if you could look into that. I know Councilmember Slotin and I had talked about that. Anyway, thank you. Any other future agenda items, gentlemen? Very well. Then we stand adjourned.
Good meeting.
Can somebody tell me how we can get on the agenda to perhaps get an